In this episode, I'm going to take a look at an LED HD video projector that I picked up from banggood.com. The results might actually surprise you. This is not a bad unit at all. We're going to tear it down and take a look inside. Coming right up. Hi. Today we're going to look at this video projector that I've received to check out. Take a look at some of the specifications on this thing. Well, it says 1080p ready, so that doesn't mean it's 1080p. It just means it'll accept a 1080p signal. I believe this is a 720 projector. It's an LED light source. It's LCD, and you can have it up to a 180-inch screen. Looks like it supports mobile links, USB plug and play, and screen share. I guess that's about all it says here. Let's open this thing up here. We're going to hook this up and try it out and see how well it performs. And then maybe we'll take it apart and see how the thing's built. But anyway, opening up the box. This is my first opening of this box. I haven't looked at anything in here yet. We'll just see what it comes with. So here's the projector itself. Is there anything else in the box here? Oh yes, we've got some accessories. Okay, let's get the box out of the way here. It's a projector. Almost written in Pioneer's font. You notice that? The font here looks an awful lot like Pioneer's old font. It's called a Simplebeamer. And looks like we got a couple USB inputs, audio, video, and it's got 2 HDMI and a VGA PC input. Standard universal power cord, so I won't need to use the. Well, I guess it did. They sent me this adapter with it, but it actually comes with a regular North American power cord. I was thinking I was going to have to dig up a computer cord, but the one that's in the box is the correct power cord for this thing. So let's take a look at the manual and remote control. So you've got a little lint-free cloth to clean the lens. We'll put that back for now. Comes with a PC cable, which is nice because a lot of them don't. Destruction manual and a remote control. Let's take a look at the specs first, and then we'll hook it up. So here's the claims. It looks like it'll support. It says 8 gigabytes. 8 gigabytes. Is that the memory size? Maybe it's got memory built in. LED light source says more than 30,000 hours. Right, okay. I haven't seen an LED that's lasted that long yet, but who knows, right? Even my LEDs for lighting in the house haven't lasted that long, but we'll see. But it should last a while. It should. Supports 1080p, but as you can see, the native resolution is 1280 by 800. So it's actually higher than 720p. A 720p panel is 1280 by 720. So this is the same resolution, a little bit higher resolution than a 720p panel. Fully enclosed optical engine. It says perfect wireless viewer, and it'll support up to 120-inch screen. 5 watts per channel. So it's got speakers in it. Never look into the lens. Get warnings on here. It says never look into the lens. Are they telling me it's bright? Yeah, it won't be. Definitely won't be as bright as my real projector, my old ViewSonic, which is also a 720 projector. But it's only, I believe it's only 1024 by 720. Because it's a 4x3. Let's just plug in power and see what this thing does. So we'll take the lens cap off here. Plug in the power cord. That's the power button. Okay, now it's turned green. See if the light will come on. Oh yes, and it is relatively bright, and I can see it across the room even with all the lights on in here. It actually is throwing a fairly good bright picture. So I'm just going to go and grab a screen. I'll put up a temporary screen so that I can project this thing onto it, and we can see how this thing looks. I'm just putting it up on the wall now, and it's actually not half bad, you know. We get a real screen and we'll take a look at how it looks. Okay, the first thing I noticed, this has got really sharp dots. Let me just adjust the focus here. And focus this in. I'm looking at the output from the camera on my viewfinder here. It's got a really good sharp picture. Let's see if I can get this a little sharper. This is the menu here. I've just got it displaying on a relatively large screen. I've also got the keystone adjustment here, which I can adjust. That's to... My screen's not perfect either. My screen is actually leaning a little bit towards me. So I'm not going to get perfect keystone in just in this particular installation, just because my screen is attached at the top there. It's just hanging by a bracket, by a hook. But I've got stuff in front of the wall, like my stepladder, for example, as you can see down at the bottom of the screen here, way down here. My stepladder is actually holding the screen out, so the screen is actually kind of tilted at the bottom. So I'm not going to get perfect keystone just the way it's set up here. But it's pretty darn good. Now with the remote control, this thing, I can select home. Where's home? There we go. And then I can select the different inputs that I've got. So if I select HDMI, for example, and I can't let this play because I'll get slammed with copyright, but if I select HDMI and I press OK, it'll switch to HDMI 1. There's two HDMI inputs. And again, I can't let this play for any length of time just because I'll get hit with copyright. So I'm going to change this right away. If I press the home button, whoops, that takes me back there. If I press home, now I can adjust my picture mode, standard. I can adjust my contrast and so forth. So when I get out of this, I don't want this video to play. I don't want any of these videos that I've downloaded off of YouTube to play just because I've been hit with copyright claims for stuff that I actually pulled off YouTube and put onto a DVD. So I am going to show you some of my own work. I just want to go through some of the functions of this. So we have color temperature. We can change the color temperature of the unit here. We have different settings for the picture, like noise reduction, aspect ratio, color temperature, and picture mode. I'm going to go over to my USB stick here. So to do that, I press the input button, which is this one here. And I can select USB because I have some of my own content on USB. So let me go over to movie and I'll go into video and I'll pick this one because this is my own content, so I can play this. It's got sound on it too. Turn the sound down here. I can play this without having to worry about pulling any copyright strikes. So now you guys can actually appreciate the type of quality, and this thing actually does give off a very good picture. I mean, I'm quite impressed with it. I'm just going to see if I can tweak the picture a bit here. Yes, that shot is out of focus, by the way. I realize that. It was the glass was playing a trick on the camera, and I couldn't get good focus because I was shooting through the glass at an angle, and just when it's pretty thick glass at this aquarium. But the picture off that is, I'm pretty impressed with how it looks, because this looks very much like the video. You guys can look at this video, by the way, if you go on my channel, you can search this out. It's the Vancouver Public Aquarium. I shot this in high definition, I don't know, probably 12 years ago or so, somewhere around there. Shot on a FX1 3 chip camera onto DV tape. So if you guys look at the original, in fact I can even punch the original in, maybe I'll punch some shots from the original video onto here so you guys can see how it looked, but this looks pretty darn good. If you see some red coming up in the background there, like right now, you see a bit of a red tone, that's actually that little sign that has my PayPal information that's sitting on my bench across the room. I can see it on the screen, reflecting off the screen. It's pretty bright. But this projector here is more than adequate for watching movies or TV. It's actually quite bright. This is a 110-inch screen that I'm displaying this on now. So the throw distance right now is 9 feet. So the projector is 9 feet from the screen, and I'm throwing a 110-inch image. And it looks pretty darn good. See if I can tweak the focus on the camera a bit. Looks to be pretty good there. Okay, I've just installed some more movies and or videos on here. I'm going to try them in a couple different formats. So in my video folder, I've got some MPEG-4 and an MPG file, which is MPEG-2. So these ones are all MPEG-4, and this bottom one here is MPEG-2. So let's look at this one first. This is one of my videos that I shot. And one thing I have noticed is you do hear the fan running in this thing. It's certainly not as loud as the fan was on that other garbage projector that really was garbage. That cheap video projector. Maybe if I can find the video from that, I'll bring that one up and we'll show some comparisons if I can dig that video up. Because I don't have that projector to actually put up beside this one now. But I still should have some footage from it. But no comparison. No comparison. This is just amazing how good this thing looks. Even though it's only a 1280 by 800 panel in here, it actually looks very good even on this size of screen. And this is a large screen. You know, this is a 108-inch screen, or 110-inch screen, sorry. I know I'm a little bit, my keystone's a little bit off here because I'm not projecting it straight onto the screen. There's also a button on here to flip the picture upside down. So if you've got the camera mounted, or if you've got the projector on a rear screen, you can mirror image it, so you can use it as a rear screen projector, and you can also flip it upside down so you can hang it from the ceiling. And you should also be able to flip it upside down and invert it so that you can hang it from the ceiling and put it on a rear screen, and then back to normal. So there's 4 modes. It's all done with the rotate button on the remote control here. You know, so far what I really like about this projector is that you can just plug your media in on a USB stick. You know, I imagine you can probably also plug a hard drive into it as well. We can test that, as I have a dockable hard drive. We can plug a hard drive into this and see how it performs. But I don't anticipate any problems with it reading a hard drive, if it'll read a USB stick. But that makes it really convenient for if you just want to download a movie and play it, for example, and it has built-in sound. It goes relatively loud and is not bad sound. Next, okay, I can adjust. I'll turn the volume down here. So that's this key here. Where am I here? You guys can't see what I'm doing. I'll show you guys in a minute here. Picture mode dynamic. So the button I was pressing to get to that is this one down here on the remote. The settings button. Picture mode dynamic. So now we can change standard, mild, these are presets, user, somebody's cranked it way up, and dynamic. If I go down to user, for example, you can see the contrast is way too high. We'll bring the contrast down a bit, make it more viewable, and then same with the brightness. And here we can adjust the color level. So we can play around with it and just dial the picture in exactly as you want it, and the sharpness. To go back up to dynamic. Dynamic is 50% for everything. I guess, yeah, mild is 44, 48, 44, user, right, dynamic, standard. So dynamic and standard are both set the same. So you can adjust it the way you'd prefer it to look. If I get back out of this one, we have color temperature as the next adjustment, where we can select it, warm, user, or cool, or middle. So you have your preferred color temperature, and you can see it adjusting here on the screen. Cool makes it more blue. Aspect ratio. You can select it to 4:3, force it to 4:3, or 16:9, or automatic, which normally you would leave this in auto. Noise reduction. So it has 3 sets of noise reduction: low, middle, and high, and the default. It was preset to middle, so we can leave it there. That's just to get rid of some digital noise reduction in PC settings if you're using it on a computer. Just check out the next video here. Where are we here to get back to this? Oh, I gotta hit that one. To do that, I hit the return key here. That one. We'll try my aquarium. This is my aquarium, as opposed to the Vancouver aquarium. Okay, looking pretty good. And if I go into the settings here, picture mode, if you have too much contrast, it's going to wash out the highlights. So ideally you want to set your contrast level. Well, to do it right, you need color bars, right? But if you want stronger color, you can crank up the color. But that's looking pretty good. I'm quite impressed with the picture quality off this projector. This file here is not an MP4, this one's actually an MPG file, and it's the same thing that I was showing you before, but this is just encoded as an MPG file. So one thing I want to try on this is photos. So I've just gone and I've loaded some photos on. Okay, I've now put the music in the photo folder. I click on the first photo and click it to run. Now if I go over to, where are we here? Music. Random. Okay, there's random. Music is on. There we go. So the music has to be in the same folder as your photos. Now if I hit the return button here, This should take the menu off. There we go. I've now just put the photos in random. That's actually pretty cool. So this thing can be used as a slideshow. Just load your photos on. You can even set it to put music to it, and it will play your slides. That's actually pretty cool. I'm quite impressed with this projector. Everything I try on it works. Like every feature works. The picture quality is actually very good. Sound quality is good. These are all very high resolution photos as well. All these photos were shot with a 24 megapixel camera. So they are in the highest quality JPEG. See what I mean? If you look at the resolution there, 5968 by 3362. That's the resolution of that photo. And this is displaying. Now it's going to display it in 1280 by 800 because that's the resolution of the actual projector itself. But it will read higher resolution images. Anyway, as promised, we're taking this thing apart. I want to see how well this unit is built. So we'll turn it off with the power button. And I gotta press it, I think, a second time to shut it off. Unlike mercury lamp projectors, this thing doesn't require any cool down time. As you can hear though, the fan, you will hear it. It's not a silent projector, but it's not particularly loud. But in a quiet home theater, you will hear it. Listen when I turn it on. Takes a second to turn on here. It's called a Simplebeamer. We'll turn it off. So it's not completely dead quiet, but it's certainly nowhere near as loud as that other projector that I had the opportunity to take apart. We're taking this one apart now to see how it's built. It looks like there's an air filter here in the front. Yep, there's the air filter. So that's easy to clean. So to give you an idea of how much noise the fan makes on this unit, it's roughly equivalent to my heater here in the shop. As I turned the heat back on, it's kind of cool out today. So I've turned the heat back on in here to warm the place up. Just gonna grab my tools. Okay, now we're in like Flynn. There's our lens. This is going to be the LCD panel behind here. I'm pretty sure there's a mirror back here. Be a mirror in here. Yep, there's a mirror. And that is going to be the panel. It's right down here. Because this is going to be our light source over here, which has got liquid cooling, as you can see here, right? It's got the cooling fins, and it's got liquid cooling. Interesting. So this is going to be the board here. If I lift out take out these screws and lift out this board, this should be the entire engine. All the electronics should be mounted, I'm thinking, on the bottom side of this board. See, this is our infrared input here, this cable. This is going to be our LVDS going to the panel, and let's unplug the infrared. For that matter, I can probably just undo this too. Undo the LVDS if I can. And just lift it out. There we go. Okay, there is the board. There is the guts to it here. Here's our main processor here. It's called a Viva Bright GP90/GP100. This is our main video processor here. Remove this out of the way. So here's our speaker at the back here. Or is that a fan? That's a fan. Where's the speaker? Speaker would be in here. That's the audio output here. This is going to be the speaker. The speaker is going to fire down to the bottom. Yes, speaker's down the bottom. It only has a single speaker in it. It says it's got 5 watts per channel, but I only see one speaker, so how can they have 5 watts per channel? It looks like, almost like it's got a Bluetooth antenna. It does. It has a Bluetooth antenna, but as you can see, the Bluetooth module is not on this unit. So this one does not have Bluetooth. It'd be different models, and they just add the extra components. If we look on the board here, you'll see spaces where components can be mounted right in here, right? And the components aren't populated on this board. So because there's different models, this is probably for the GP100. I would gather this is the Viva Bright GP90 board, and the 100 would have additional components on it, and it probably would have the Bluetooth module over here, because you can see where the board is empty, right? So there's definitely more than one model of unit that they produce that uses the same board, but they just populate the board for the other chips. But that's okay, because this is a budget projector, right? This is a low quality, or since I almost said low quality, but you know what? The quality of the picture is actually pretty good, as you saw. I have no complaints about the picture quality on this unit, and I think it stacks up very well to my ViewSonic, which is a DLP. It's also the same, you know, it's also a 720 projector. So I think the picture quality here is actually pretty good. And it looks like they have 2 different connectors here for maybe 2 different panels, right? There's this one here, it says 5.8, and this one's 5.0. So maybe this is for the 720, and this one might be for a 480 version. It looks to have less pins, but anyway, that's this part. I'm going to just remove the power board from here, take out the 2 plugs and the speaker plug, so that I can tear this thing down even more. So we'll just set the board out of the way, because I want to take this thing right apart. Take off the front of the lens here if I can. There, that comes off there. Again, this is our infrared sensor that's right on the front of it here. We'll just lift off that bit of tape, get that out of the way. We'll put that aside for now. This is our power supply. You can see the big power leads coming off of here. This is probably the power input, and one of these is going to be for the light source. We'll just take the filter out of the way for now. So the air is drawn in through the unit, it passes through the filter and then over the heat sink on the power supply, because this is going to produce a fair bit of heat, as is the LED light source, which is what I'd kind of like to get into, is the light engine here. Looks like the LCD panel is held in place by a screw here, so let's just remove this screw, and that should allow me to remove the LCD panel. This should lift up now, and here is the LCD. There's our LCD panel for this unit. Anyone want to guess the size of that panel? So I'm just going to set the panel aside. Heat's gone off now, it's warmed up enough in here. I'm just going to set the panel aside for the time being, so that it doesn't get damaged, and then we'll put this back together when I'm all done, and hopefully it's going to work. Hopefully they don't want this one back. Okay, just want to see how I can get that LED. I'd like to take the LED light source out of this thing and take a look at it. I'm just trying to see how it's held together. Okay, I've got the screws out that hold that in place. You see this adjustment here, if I see this, what that does, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a Fresnel lens. This is for adjusting your geometry, right? To compensate for your angle between your screen and the projector. And that's just linked from that lens control over to that. There's a Fresnel lens in here. Okay, now, providing that there's no more screws, the top cover comes off. Here's the LED. See, this reflector will come out. It's got a reflector around it and a lens. It's got a couple lenses. That one feels like it's made out of glass. That's probably a UV filter, I'm thinking. The LCD panel actually goes down between, it's either between this one or these, it's probably between these two here, to tell you the truth. I think this is probably where the LCD fits. It goes down, it lifts out. And this might even be a polarizing filter. Let's see it, is it? Is this, yeah, that's a polarizing filter. How we know that is if I look at my watch and I turn it, right? My watch goes completely away, you see? So that's a polarizing filter. So that has to go in here. That's what polarizes the light, and there'll be another one on the other side of the LCD. There it goes. Okay. So there's our first lens assembly, and here is the LED light source. You can see it's mounted on a massive heatsink. It looks to be well made. It's got heatsink compound. You can see it. You can see the heatsink compound between the actual LED light die here and the aluminum heatsink. It's got this massive heatsink on here with thermal cooling fins. It's got 4 heat pipes. As you can see, these are copper heat pipes here, like high-end PCs use. If you look at the power connector on the back, everything is heat shrunk properly. The ground pin's not connected, which I wouldn't expect it to be because it's only a 2-prong plug. Actually, it's a 3-prong plug, but that's beside the point. It's the ground pin is not connected. I wouldn't expect it to be connected because this is a plastic cabinet, so there's no shock risk on here, right? Because it's isolated, it's plastic. If it was a metal cabinet, then you'd want the ground, but in this case, everything's isolated. On the AC side, there's nothing. If something were to touch, like, it's not going to cause any damage. You're not going to run any electrocution risk because the cabinet itself is made out of plastic. So that's okay. There's no issues there. LED light panel looks fine. Power supply looks to be good. Looks to be good quality. Caps look okay on here. I don't see anything. Like, I don't see, looking at the construction of the power supply board, I haven't removed it, but it looks to be okay. I don't see anything jumping out at me that says this is made shoddily. It looks to be, I mean, they've even gone to the trouble of gluing the pins, gluing the connectors together so that they don't fall apart. I'm going to put this back together before something gets broken here. So this just slides back down in here, like that. Well, it did, until it fell apart. Now you guys can see what's in there. It's just a silver reflector with a Fresnel lens that fits over the front, like that. That's to spread the light out evenly. And this just slides back in place like this, and drops right in front of the light source. Sits in place just like that. And then we'll put the polarizing filter back where it belongs, which was down into this little slot right here, right in front of it. And that sits in there like, sort of like this. And then the LCD panel, actually, you can see where it goes. It actually goes into here, right? So this is the polarizing plate prior to the LCD, and then the other one is on the front side of the LCD panel itself. It'll be right on the actual panel. Because you have one polarizing screen that polarizes the light vertically or horizontally, and then you have another one on the opposite polarity on the other side of the screen. And the liquid crystals twist to bend the light to allow the light to pass through or to block the light. So that is that. Now we'll put the top cover back on this thing and start reassembling it and see if this thing will work once I get it back together. Because after looking at the build quality of this little unit, I can't find any fault. The build quality of this thing is fantastic. Like that last one that I had given to me that used the 150 watt mercury lamp or metal halide lamp. Well, that thing was a joke because, first of all, the thing sounded like a jet engine firing up when you turned it on. It was so loud, the fan. But it had a really, it did not have a good quality picture. but it wasn't HD. It was just standard definition. That one was 854 by 480. But this one here will be rated as high definition. Not full HD though, because full HD requires it to be 1920 by 1080. But it's still HD nevertheless. Yeah, 1280. Oh yeah, 1280 by 800. Sorry, 1280 by 720 is considered HD. So this is a little bit better than your 720p. So if we look at the LCD panel, I guess I need more light on there, but there's going to be a polarizing screen on. You can see it. It's reflective. The back side is not as reflective as the front. You can see the polarizing plate on the front here, of the front of the screen, because you've got one behind it and one in front of it. Anyway, it just drops in place like that. It's held down by one screw, looks like. There's only one screw I removed for that thing. We get our main board again. Plug in the main board. We've got our plugs, speaker, and our power. Insert our ribbon connector here to reconnect the panel to the main board. It just slides in and you'll lock down the tab at the back here. That locks it in place. You got to put the front panel back in here, however it went in. And it just locks in place like this. Just like that. And then the connector plugs in over here for the infrared. Tape that down there. I should be able to power this thing up now. Contact. And there it goes. Adjust my focus when the thing kicks in. Okay. That's my focus. And this is why you can see what that does. If you look over here, that affects the lens, the final lens there, which tilts the picture up and down to make it level on your screen. If your angle of your projector is lower or higher, then you can adjust it accordingly, and it will compensate for the focal difference, right? That's what this does, is it compensates for the focal difference between the top and the bottom. So if your projector's on the ceiling and it's projecting towards your screen, obviously the distance to the bottom of the screen is going to be greater than the distance to the top. So this adjusts the actual focal plane to compensate for your projector being above or below the center of your screen. That's what that does. I just noticed on the back you've got audio output, it's got headphone output, it's got stereo output, and you would feed that into your sound system, and then you would get your stereo audio from your source. If you're playing back your hard drive or memory stick, you'd get your sound in addition to through the speaker, but if you plug in your headphones here, you should get stereo audio to your sound system. I guess we can confirm that and verify that it actually is stereo sound. I also will confirm that there are two fans in this unit. There's the exhaust fan at the back here. If I can stop it, you'll still hear a second fan going. There's a second fan that is blasting air over the heatsink, and I can feel the heat coming off the heatsink that's cooling the LED source. So it seems to be very well cooled. I can feel the heat coming off here now. There's another fan that's right in behind here, and I guess we didn't see it when I had it apart, or maybe we did and I just didn't point it out, but it's right behind here. There's another fan right in here, right behind the power supply, which is drawing air over the power supply and then pushing it out over the heatsink. The second fan is drawing air through the panel here and exhausting it out the back. So there's two fans, so which is good. I mean, LED is not going to produce anywhere near the amount of heat that a conventional lamp would, but they still do get hot. We're putting a lot of current through this LED light die to generate the light levels that this thing has, and it does have fairly respectable light levels because I've got all my lights on here in the shop and I can still see the screen. And it's bright in here right now. Right now in here I've got, I don't know how many watts of light I've got. Let's see here. Got a couple 65 watt 8-foot lamps. I've got a couple of 4-foot lamps going in here, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. I got 7 42 watt CFL lamps over top of the bench, the big ones. So there's a lot of light in here. To give you an idea how bright the image is, you can't look into it. It hurts your eyes. It's very bright. And in case you guys wondered what this panel was that came off the bottom here, right? That's so that you can clean without taking the whole projector apart. You can pop this little hatch off on the bottom and get in there with your duster and blow the dust out of it. If any dust accumulates on the LCD panel, a little more difficult to remove that than I anticipated there. But if you need to, you can actually blow air into here to blow out any dust that accumulates, because that's between the panel and the Fresnel lens. What I have noticed is that I have no sound coming from the HDMI input, and I know that there is sound on this video that's playing. So the sound is not passed through to the audio output from the HDMI input. So if you're using this as a home theater to hook up your DVD player or your Blu-ray player, you're going to have to connect your Blu-ray player to your sound system, not through this. Which, again, if you're using it with a Blu-ray player, that would be expected anyway, because it would then be in a home theater setup and you would have your sound system connected directly to your Blu-ray player. But there is no sound fed from the HDMI output on here. Let's go back to the memory stick. So I'll select the movie that I have on my USB stick here. And yes, it's definitely a stereo. So that proves that it is stereo. If you unplug that, of course, the sound is going to come out through the built-in speaker. Is it a line level or is it controlled? So the volume is still controlled from the remote control. So it's a variable level, which is good. So you could plug this into, say, some powered speakers, for example, if you were doing a presentation and the built-in speaker wasn't going to be loud enough. You could plug it into some powered speakers and fill the room with sound, and stereo sound at that. But other than that, hey, I think that's pretty much wraps up this teardown and demonstration of this little Simplebeamer projector. The link where I got this, I got it from banggood.com, and the link is on the video. But hey, I'm giving this thing a thumbs up for what this unit cost. I think the results are pretty darn good, and I haven't seen anything that performs at this level for the price of this little unit. So I'm giving this one a thumbs up. I don't see any serious faults with this thing. I don't see any faults in the build. Build quality is actually very solid. Lots of screws in it too, and it seems to be, you know, it's fairly heavy. It's a hefty little unit. I think this unit could be good. I'm going to run this on a long-term test, and we'll see how this works out, but I think this is a winner. Hey guys, remember, even though Patreon's got their problems fixed up with as far as how they were going to bill the users, if you want to support me, that way is the best way to do it. Supporting my channel allows me to go out and buy things like this and review them on the channel. As I say, some things I get sent to me promo, other items that I review, I actually buy them with my own cash, and the donations to the channel allow me to do that. So thanks for your support, and we'll catch you in the next one real soon. Bye for now.